Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the Red Hand, and this episode is actually based off of a question from one of our members of the Red Hand, dropped in our Discord. Feel free to check it out in the description below if you'd like to join us. If you have questions and just want to drop a line to me in our Discord, that's a great place to do it. And so the question was, he was a bit confused over the difference between a land hab, the Central Space Station land hab, and then a claim stake. These are both two concepts of land, but you get very different things from either one of them. The pricing layout is much different for them. And so I wanted to go over the difference between the two and make sure that it's very clear what it is you're actually going to get from one versus the other. And so let's get right into that and go to the marketplace. So here on the marketplace, you go to play.staratlas.com, it's marketplace, and come down to structures. You have housing, mining equipment, space station structures. Those are not important right now. I would hold off on speculating or buying for any of that stuff. But for the housing and then the stake. So housing, you actually have quite a few different options here. And this is the Central Space Station Hab. Okay, so it is housing. It is digital space in a Central Space Station. There are 3 Central Space Stations in Star Atlas, one for each faction. And so you will want to know what faction you're in. When you set up your wallet, you choose a faction, and that is the Central Space Station that you are going to be tied to begin the game. And so if you're on the Mud faction, you want to make sure to get a Mud Central Space Station base tier or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, 4, 5, whichever one, you want to make sure it is Mud Central Space Station. If you're in a different faction, when you start the game, you'll be in a different location than your hab. So that would be an unfortunate mistake to make. So if you're in the Oni, there are tiers, base tier through tier 5, and Ooster the same. And so when we go into this, this type of land for Star Atlas, let's do a tier 1. Go to the description real quick. The property title for a tier 1 residential land plot on the surface area of the Mud Central Space Station. This is for a Mud. This title was issued by the Council of Peace during the Sage startup sequence. And then the images are Sogmian District for example only. Final art will vary based on the final faction and district location. Okay, so the picture that we're seeing is what the Sogmian District is going to look like. But you have the ability to choose any district that you want. I assume this is going to be a first come first serve based off of when you purchased your land or what wave you purchased your land in. But I don't know that for sure. That's I'm just shooting off the cuff. But you'll actually be able to change the location. It doesn't have to be this, but this is for an example. And then what do you get for this house in your Central Space Station? So let's go to Path Towards Tomorrow document, and I'll link that in the description below. And it talks about the different land hab, Central Space Station lands that you can get. And this is a picture of all of the different ones from the tier 5, the big $2 million, I did say $2 million, tier 5 land habs, all the way down to your base tier, your basic land hab, and then in comparison to a X6 ship. So this, what you get for that, and actually, so there will be so total supply, where does it say, of 123,000 of these base tier lands, $80 lands over the lifetime. They are releasing 10% of that right now. So there will be 4,100 available per faction. And from the sales that I've seen so far, those are the most commonly sold. And what do you get for that? Base tier hab, exclusive interior hab paint, crafting station, extra small, and then a cargo storage, which is tier 0, and then a tier 0 badge. So what exactly that means, crafting station, you would be able to craft any item at your central space station, bring in the resources and your recipe, and you would be able to then execute the crafting, the new material or the new item at that station. So that is important, especially if you want to play the game loop of crafting materials or collecting resources and putting them together for something more valuable. Cargo storage, tier 0, we don't understand what the size of that is. We just know that it is the smallest size of storage space. But I imagine if you are trying to collect things and craft, then cargo storage is going to be important. No matter what game you play, the inventory and storage, you always want an extra backpack for extra storage for more things. It gets always clustered, and you always throwing away stuff that you don't have space for, and that's constantly an issue with all exploration type games, RPG type games. And so then you have tier 1, and so this is where some of the things increase. Rarity, less units available, $1,610. Then what you get is a exclusive interior hab paint, exclusive exterior hab paint, crafting station, extra small size, a landing pad for an extra small ship, cargo storage tier 1, and then badge tier 1. And then you also get a ship. This is a Calico Scud. It's not released yet, but when they release it, you will get it as an airdrop or something like that. And then as we go up, tier 2 are just larger crafting stations, larger pads and cargoes, and then larger or more ships. And as we continue up, that's how it scales. And so really the crafting and the storage are the utility aspects that you would eventually get from these land habs. But to start the game off, this is not going to really be part of game until well into the development for Sage and really the UE5 is what this is about. So the development of UE5 and be able to explore this. Now there is a video, and I'll link that in the description below, of somebody flying around what they've developed so far. It's very rough. It's just the early development of the Oni space station, but you get a feel of the immersive and three-dimensional type of gameplay that you could experience with these base tiers through tier 5. Now tier 5 is $2 million, so like you really gotta want it. And there's going to be a total of 4 per faction lifetime, and then 3 available at the moment. So, get them while they're hot. And you actually also get an exclusive pet house included on this one, and a sculpture. So you're getting a little bit more for this tier 5. Good. Now, hopefully that makes the habs understandable. Now let's go to the claim stakes. So the claim stakes are not faction based. These are, and I did a whole video, I'll link it as well, specific about claim stakes. But this is what you actually send out to the different planetary locations to mine resources. So the land habs are a place for you to be and to craft things and to store things at a central space station, and specifically the central space station. The claim stakes are what you take out, and you'll have to tow it behind a ship. You have to actually physically or digitally physically, take it out into a space on the blockchain to actually mine a plot of land. So mining and resource extraction is what claim stakes are all about. And then going to the marketplace to take a look at this. So housing is where the Habs are. Stakes are where the claim stakes are. And let's go to claim stake tier 1. And its description, the first item in any landowner's inventory is the claim stake, required to claim ownership of any available land or space claim in planets outside of the Central Space Station. That's might be a good explanation added on to that. The tier of the stake determines how wide and deep the developer can excavate the stake claim below, and then the stake also doubles as a radar to scan for oncoming threats. Okay, cool. So those are the two utility aspects, and these are what you send out into space away from the Central Space Station to go extract resources. And again, the video that I've done on the claim stakes is much more in-depth, but this is not a passive type of gameplay. This is still a very active type of gameplay. And so if you have a bunch of land claims that you plan on taking out into the medium risk zone or the high risk zone, you're going further away from the Central Space Station. Which means you'll spend less time in the Central Space Station. And so a Central Space Station house may not make as much sense if you're trying to explore out and expand out away from the center. But if your gameplay loop and the whole idea is to stay in the Central Space Station area to interact with the people at that Central Space Station, have more of a social environment in one spot, then a Central Space Station house might make a lot more sense for you. And if you're not planning on extracting resources, if you're not planning on going out and doing a lot of PvP in the high risk zone, then the security zone, and there are a lot of people I've talked to actually like the idea of having a safe place to play the game and interact. When they get the commercial districts up and running and have actual stores that you can go to in the Central Space Station, this could end up being more of a marketplace that you spend your time in a digital metaverse setting. And so that's very much different thought from the claim stakes and the claim stake play loop. So make sure you understand what type of land claim you're really looking for, and then know the price points that are associated with each of these, and how they jump up in price. And then for the houses, make sure that you get the one in your faction, so that you don't have to go about trading with somebody else who made the same gaffe. And inevitably somebody will do it, and don't feel bad. Somebody's got to be the person to make that mistake. So if you have, then congratulations. You did it, so I didn't have to. I'm not planning on actually getting a space station, a Central Space Station Hab. I'm planning on doing most of my gameplay out in the medium risk and high risk zones, and so my decision process was pretty simple for that. It doesn't make sense for me to have that space. Now, will the Red Hand have a Central Space Station location? As a guild, that might make a lot of sense, to have the ability to gather at a place and to have meetings. That might end up being a very big benefit to a guild for having, and to that extent, that might be a possibility. So keep those things in mind. Hopefully, that was good for explaining and understanding a little bit better. And if not, then I hope you enjoyed the low tones of my voice and are now relaxed and happy and rejuvenated, ready to take on the rest of your day and feel inspired because of my enthusiasm and love for this whole concept. You are my daily therapy. Thank you very much, Metaverse. Don't worry about liking and subscribing, but share it to somebody that you think would find it useful. And if you could do that, then guess what? Today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.